Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today's video starts with a heartwarming story about kindness in the most unexpected places. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Helping a grandma find yarn was the highlight of my day. Yesterday, I went to the arts and crafts store in search of picture frames. While I searched for a pre-cut natural white mat board in my desired size because the store was grotesquely understaffed and there was a line at the framing counter, I hear a woman ask another for assistance. She was wearing a shirt that matches the employee smocks. The reply was quick and almost rude. "I don't work here." And the woman grabbed her cart and walked away. I don't know why this attracted my attention. Maybe it was the desperation in the asker's voice. Maybe it was store acoustics that funneled their voices to me. I really don't know. The woman who was looking for help stands for a moment before she uses a seeing-impaired cane to walk towards me in the main aisle. Me. "I don't work here, but I can try to help you." She gives a huge sigh, smiles. "I need help finding yarn. I'm making a baby blanket and the colors needed are white or cream, yellow, pink, and blue. And I can't see enough to pick them out." Me. "Well, I can definitely help you with that." Her. "Can you lend an arm? It's crowded in here and I walk faster with a person leading." I laugh. "Well, speed isn't on my menu. I have a walking boot and crutches. If you want, I can lead and you can follow. I unfortunately don't have an open arm." She apologizes and mentions she'll find an employee, and I insist it's not a problem and I have only seen one employee and they're at the framing counter with a line of people. We figured out all the logistics. As we get to the yarn, we share names, and I learned she had her vision until a pair of hands and a foot ago, and that her husband dropped her off while he went to the hardware store. We get to the yarns and start by finding what feel of yarn she wanted, and then I start describing the colors. Barely pink, light salmon, cotton candy pink, to banana skin yellow and banana flesh yellow, and this is almost a orange pink. I was told I was describing the colors well and gathered the bundles. We finished our shopping together and even checked out one after the other, and she insisted on buying me a chocolate bar as a thank you. Total grandma move right there. "Mama Satia, I hope your great-grandbaby's blanket turns out wonderfully soft and as loving and sweet as you." This is so sweet. She'll probably always remember that experience, and I'm sure it meant so much to her. Thanks for making Reddit a little less depressing today, OP. And our second story. Black Friday Chaos. 10 years ago, I worked at a toy store, and towards the end of my time there was the first year we were opening on Thanksgiving night at 10 p.m. instead of very early Friday morning. My shift started at 11 p.m. and it was packed. There was a line at the front door extending around the huge store. A cop had to check my work badge to let me in because they were technically at building capacity and only letting customers in when others came out. In short, it was an absolute madhouse. I waited my way to check in, and being one of the cashiers with the best numbers, I'd been given the position of breaker that night. Basically to hop from register to register and cover while others took their breaks. It made the night go quicker, I think, because I didn't have to stay in one place very long. I can't stress enough how packed the store was. I don't know if I've ever seen so many people in one place except at a big concert. We'd erected boxed big wheels around the store to force a line structure in the main aisles, and this line extended to the back of the store consistently for the first several hours of the sales. Thankfully, people seemed nicer than usual. I wasn't sure if it was holiday spirit or just people being smart enough not to argue when they just wanted to get out of there. I checked out people with carts full of toys and people who'd just come to get one choice item, but nothing like Hamster Lady. Her cart was filled to the brim with these robotic hamster toys that whizzed around on the ground and were very popular at the time. Me, just wanting to get through it, didn't ask questions and started ringing her up, hamster by hamster, putting them all in a big bag. The reason I did it, hamster by hamster, is because they weren't all the same item code, because the different colors were different models with names. There was a sale on them that night, and I figured that's why she was getting so many, but only a few of the names were on sale. About 3/4 of the way through the cart, she looks up from her cell and says, "I'm so glad these are all on sale." My heart dropped. I knew I was about to have a very unhappy customer on my hands. I said what I had to. Ma'am, sorry to be the one to tell you, but only 4 kinds of the hamsters are on sale tonight. Her eyes got wide and she went red. She didn't believe me at first, and I had to point out the fine print on the ad to her. Well, I only want the ones that are on sale, so you need to go through them and pick out the ones that aren't on sale. The customer behind her audibly groaned upon hearing that. So I did. I went through the entire damn bag and cart of hamsters. It took a while. Too long when you have that long of a line waiting. And unbelievably enough, she hadn't grabbed a single one that was on sale. They may have even all been gone by the time she got to the display, for all I know. But her misreading the ad, which of course happens all the time, had led to this gigantic waste of time, and now I had to deal with her. I sucked it up. Ma'am, sorry to say, but you don't have any of the hamsters that are on sale. These are all at the full $6.99. She sighed like I was so annoying and inconveniencing. Well, fine then. Can't you hold my spot while I go get the right ones? I looked at her in disbelief, then to my right, where the line stretched back and left and beyond my view, past the shelves, hundreds of people corralled by big wheel boxes. On a normal day, I'd let you do that, but I can't do that tonight, ma'am. There's just too many people in line waiting. I tried to be nice, but still matter of fact. I expected her to maybe ask to see the manager, which would have been laughable on its own with how damn busy the store was. Instead, this is what I got. You're so stupid. You're just pathetic for working at this place. You know that? I can't believe I even came to a place like this where they employ idiots like you. I honestly don't remember thinking before I responded. Well, ma'am, then I guess I could say the same about you shopping here. Thankfully for my job, she just said, "How dare you? I'm never shopping here again." She marched off with a huff and left me with a giant bag of robotic hamsters to put back on the shelves when the line died down. The customer behind her said, "Wow, some nice holiday spirit there, huh? I'm sure you're just so sad that she won't be coming back." We laughed about it, and that lady was awesome. Hamster lady was amazingly my only abuser that night. Had I been the OP? Had it not been Black Friday and had the woman been nice? I would have let her skip waiting in line a second time. No way in hell I'm making the rest of people just stand there and wait, though. And our last story. Rich heirs tried to screw over my friends, but we had the last laugh. This happened 15 years ago and is one of the proudest moments of my life. My best friend and her husband have 5 kids together. They were living in an expensive city and rented an old 4-bedroom house for $400 per week. The house was run down with a disgusting kitchen, terrible plumbing, and smelly drains, but it was all they could afford at the time. Even so, they made it work. The owner was an elderly woman who was extremely wealthy and very fond of my friend and her family. She froze the rent for 5 years and promised to let them buy the house once they'd saved enough to get a loan. She had done this for other tenants before, and they trusted her. They saved every cent they could, working tirelessly to build up enough for a down payment. It took them 5 years, but they finally reached the point where they were ready to buy. Then, just 2 days after they told her they were ready, the elderly lady passed away before anything was put in writing. It was devastating for them. The house that they had spent years working towards now seemed out of reach. Enter the new owners. The elderly woman's 4 children. Each one was extremely wealthy in their own right, inheriting a huge portfolio of properties. They assured my friends that the sale would still go through, but they would have to wait until probate was settled. Confident and hopeful, my friends began making improvements to the house. They stripped the wallpaper, repainted the walls, and made plans to update the property. When probate was finally settled, the new owners agreed to go ahead with the sale at the previously agreed price. My friends were ecstatic, ready to put in an application for a loan, but that's when things took a turn for the worse. To their shock, the sale price had been increased by $80,000 without warning. Even worse, the house was going to be listed on the open market. There would be an open house in just 7 days, and with the current market trends, the house would likely sell immediately. My friends were devastated. They'd been working towards this for so long, and now the goalpost had been moved. They might be able to borrow enough to cover the new price, but there was no way they could make it happen in time. To make matters worse, rents had increased significantly since they first moved in, and the property prices had soared. They'd struggled to find another place to rent, let alone one that would accommodate their family with 5 kids. At this point, I was terrified for my friends. But I was also incandescently angry. The new owners were already among the wealthiest people in town, and they were trying to screw over a struggling family for an extra $20,000 each. It was pure greed. They didn't need the money, and it was obvious that they had always planned to do this. So while my friends scrambled to come up with the money, I started plotting. I researched everything I could about what makes a property sale fall through. We needed to make the place as undesirable as possible without making my friends look like bad tenants. Here's what we did. Uncluttering. We moved all the furniture away from the walls, added extra items and borrowed ornaments. We even hung up a lot of motorcycle memorabilia on the walls, which made the place feel much smaller. Smell. I boiled a head of cabbage on the stove and sprayed ammonia around the doors to make it smell like neighborhood cats had marked the place. We also poured a dozen rotten eggs down the drains to add to the unpleasant stench. Neighborhood vibes. We found an old moldy couch and dumped it in the front yard of the neighbor across the street, with their permission, of course. Neighborhood times 2. We called on our friends with loud, crappy cars and asked them to do laps around the block during the open house. The street was so busy that it resembled rush hour. Neighborhood times 3. I called in help from my rugby club, where many of the men are very large and tough. We set up a barbecue in the front yard, served cheap beer, and made sure the crowd looked rowdy. The atmosphere was definitely not what you'd expect from a typical open house. The open house day arrived, and people started to come by. Most didn't stay long, though. One woman sat in her car watching the scene and then drove off. The only person who stayed long enough to talk to anyone was a man who spoke to one of our party guests. He was told about the after-party mornings we had, and he also learned about the problematic drains that frequently caused the house to smell bad. He ended up leaving without making an offer. Finally, my friends were the ones to make an offer. They didn't pay the full $80,000 increase, but they did offer more than they had planned, and less than the greedy owners were hoping for. Thanks to strict anti-gazumping laws, the owners couldn't accept the higher offer from another buyer who had bid $30,000 more than my friends. My friends signed the papers and paid the deposit that same day, securing the house. When the other buyer found out, there was nothing the owners could do. I imagine their faces when they realized they'd been outwitted and outplayed. For context, while $400 rent may seem cheap by today's standards, it was actually a fairly high rent in 2004. By the time the elderly lady passed away, average rent for a house that size had only gone up about $40. Today, 4-bedroom houses in that area go for about $800 a week. This is a good story. The first thing that jumped out at me, though, was the issue of them starting to renovate before they closed on the house. This is one of the reasons that you never count your chickens before they hatch. And by that, I mean never spend money on something that isn't legally yours yet. They should have waited till after closing to start any renovations on that house, because only the owners will benefit, and when they started spending money to renovate, that wasn't your friends. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.